Hey, good morning, Viviana. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jack, for inviting me. I am really excited for this podcast.
Amazing. And it's such an interesting topic because the work that you do at Arkanthas is so important and prominent to the industry that we know and love. So, really excited to dive into the topic of waste management, what that utopia looks like when it comes to waste. Why don't we start off by maybe just spend a little bit of time getting to know you and the work that you do and your background and how you came to this point in your journey at Arkanthas?
Yeah, sure. So I am Viviana Contreras. I am the co-founder and the CEO of Arkanthas. Arkanthas is a French startup which is based in Toulouse. We start in 2021. We are using technology and artificial intelligence at the service of the environment and a topic really special, which is waste. So we are trying to transform this sector, which really needs a kind of transformation. I created Arkanthas with an associate, which is Nicolas. Both of us come from different sectors. From my part, I come from the waste management sectors. I have been working in this sector for many years, and is because I was working in this sector that I create Arkanthas, because I observe really challenging points that allow me to create Arkanthas. And from the part of Nicolas, he was working on the digital sector, artificial intelligence sectors. So we decided to link our competencies, our skills to create Arkanthas and help many industries and companies to drive challenge and better actions related with waste management.
Amazing, amazing. And it's one that is so important. And the topic of waste is definitely growing in awareness within the construction sector, within the sort of wider built environment. It's been a topic that's been discussed on this podcast a couple of times, but very much approaching it from different angles. For example, waste within property and commercial real estate, etc. But less so in more of the heavy industries, which is a lot of the work that you do. So I'm really excited to dive into this. So I guess maybe just to start off, like how much of a problem is it? You said that you came from a background in waste management. What are the sort of top line challenges that we're dealing with at the minute?
Yeah, it's important to know that when we talk about waste, it's easy to think that it's something not sexy, we can say. But if we think deeply, waste actually represents a huge amount of resources that unfortunately are lost due to different inefficiencies in the entire value chain, in logistic, transportation, separation, lack of recovery options. And when I was working in the recovery sector for over 8 or 10 years, which focuses essentially in recovering these materials to introduce in the value chain as secondary resources, it was really hard. It was really challenging. It was hard because we had many problems getting the necessary amounts and quality of these resources to run the process effectively. And we were forced to use primary resources to compensate. And that is like incredible. And maybe people say, oh, is really this happening? And yeah, it's really happening in different waste recovery sectors. For example, in bio waste, in plaster sector, in insulator sector, is frequently a thing that is happening. And when this happens, the process, which is meant to recover secondary resources, is not profitable. And finally, this is impacting the creation and the development of the new recovery options. And that's why we are saying that it's not possible to recycling or recovery materials. And the reason of that is that we are losing many of these materials which are coming from professional activities like construction, industry, and manufacture in landfill. One important thing to know also is that we are talking about 60,000 tons of waste per minute, which is produced by professional activities. To give an example of what that represents, is 18 swimming pools which are produced every minute from these professional activities. Essentially, these materials can be recovered by different, we are losing it in incineration, in landfill, and that is leading to cost also, because in some countries in European Union, for example, landfill and incineration are overtaxed. So we are paying more for this kind of exits, and it's good because the objective of this overtax is that the limitation of this material going in these options, which are not good enough for the environmental part. And it's important to know that when we can't recover the materials well sorted at source, that will cost more. We are talking about 10 or 20 times more when we get a mixed material in a sorting center compared to the material directly sorted at source. Environmental impact, carbon footprint that are impacting our life, the future of the new generations. And all of that is the result that we only are able to recycle today 20% of the waste which is produced by professionals'
Yeah.
activities.
The scenario that you described there is, it sounds quite broken because why does this issue occur? Is it because clearly companies aren't economically incentivized to not recycle because it's costing them more? It's costing them more to not recycle at source and to instead pay another company to do it. Where does that sort of immaturity lie?
No, on the contrary, when you are recycling and separating at source, that costs less. In the mind of people, generally we think that sorting costs more. It's quite more complicated when you are doing or performing this activity at source because for sure you have to think, okay, this waste where we can put this waste is in this container or in the other containers. Companies are paying less when they are recycling. Why? Because there are resources. For example, if you mixed, the treatment is costly because the waste management company need to put people to separate all of these waste, and maybe they won't get all the things separated because it's contaminated but sorted. There are many challenges to separate, so it's not possible. When you do the effort at source, the process is easily in the other steps and you pay 10 or 20 times less compared to mixing all up. So that is an incentive. And we also have another incentive is that the regulations are evolving really fast in the good directions. We have European Union, which are giving some rules about recycling. We have, for example, objectives in the horizon of 2035, increasing recovery and recycling rates by 65%. Today, we are at 20%. So it's a huge challenge. We have a lot of work to do. And the other objective is decrease landfill by 10% at the same horizon. And today we are at 60%. So there are a lot of things to do. We need to change a lot of process, optimize, start to understand what we can do with waste. And that is the objective of many people in the value chain, but they need for sure tools to do that.
The waste recovery sector, can it handle the amount of waste that we're putting out as a sector? Some of the numbers that you spoke about are quite shocking. Are there actually recycling facilities that are able to deal with this scale of waste?
It's difficult. It's not a simple task to do. We have a lot of waste. We are like swimming in waste all the time because we are consuming a lot of things. We are buying a lot of things. Industries are producing a lot of packaging. We need things to live. That is the reality of our world. But the important thing is that the waste management companies need tools to address the different challenges that they are observing in all the value chain. That means, for example, transportation. That means understanding that what they can recycle or not, measuring the amounts of waste that we are producing related with the different type of waste. This information drive decisions, drive investment, drive regulations. So we need that. But if we don't have that, it would be impossible to create options to transform and change the things that we are doing today.
So is it an information challenge then, rather than I guess, a sort of capacity challenge or a recycling challenge? It sounds like it's more of an information challenge.
That's right. It's a lack of information. There are many points, but this is one of the main points. Less than 1% of the waste which is transiting by a sorting center, for example, is measured. And this 1% is performed by hand. There are activities which are empirical or doing by hand. And for sure, that is not optimal. In other fields or sectors, we are measuring for many years to try to decrease the loss of resources during a process, or to drive investments, or to drive the change in different activities. But in the waste management sector, it's like we have a lack of this measure. There
I
is
can't
not measure
believe
at
it's
all.
done by hand. That's insane. The scale of waste that we're talking about, yeah, it's done manually by people, resource.
Yeah, and actually, the waste management sector is quite recent, is evolving recently. We are talking about 30 years or evolving sector. We are producing waste since we understand that we are in the planet. But the awareness of that is just some couple of years ago, it's 30 years. So that's why this sector is not digitalized at all. We are starting, and this is the point to a change, to a transformation of the sector.
If it's done by hand, that process is surely riddled with so many other challenges. It's inefficient for starters, it's costly, it's probably dangerous as well if people are close to that process. But it must be riddled with human challenges and mistakes. It sounds as though it's a bit of a subjective process. Do they just eyeball it?
Yeah, so that there is subjectivity. There is also practices that are not well performed at source. When we are in a construction site, we have many people which are involved in different activities to build the building, but their core of the activity is not waste management. So they don't have the resources either to understand what is bad, because regulations are evolving really fast. The option of recovery are also evolving, the recycling are also evolving. So they don't understand because the culture, the activities are different, and they are like running really fast in all the activities all the day. So it's difficult for them to understand what they can do and to do all the things manually. So they need to be a little bit help to be better, to be educated about good practices, to automate some tasks that are manually today in order to be better. So that's the important thing to provide right now for many stakeholders in the value chain, tools that allow to eliminate subjectivities, improve practices, anticipate actions, and optimize and automate different operations that are not or not have really good value in the value chain, and try to put these people tasks that give real value for the activities. So that is the point of all of that.
Yeah, because it sounds as though there's this big opportunity to turn this cost for businesses, both in from financial cost perspective, but also time cost perspective, because you've got people around it, and dependent on people to perform these assessments and process it, really turn that sort of cost into a bit of an opportunity, a bit of value. So, what does that sort of better approach look like?
So essentially, the important thing is here we are not talking about to replace humans. We are talking about humans, the activities that they performing by hand, which are hard in terms of security, in terms of time, in terms of cost. Approach, or an interesting approach, is by starting to automating things and help them to use tools that help them to perform the activities in a better way. That's why we are providing in Arkanthas this kind of tools to help stakeholders to eliminate some tasks manually, but also help them to take better decisions. One thing that is quite funny to think about is today we are measuring water or electricity. That is driving the actions about consumption and billing also about the consumption of these resources. But related with waste, we are not doing that. And that's why we have all of this problem today related with waste, where we don't know how to do in a better way the things. So by using these kind of tools, we can forecast activities, aware the people on field about the things that they can do or not do, and effectively manage the different resources. That at the last point is the important thing here, to avoid resources going to landfill and recover it to introduce in the value chain again and be in line with a circular economy. It's very
It's
important.
almost in the UK, a lot of houses have now been fitted with smart meters, which automatically tracks your energy or your water usage and then provides the water or the energy companies with a whole lot of data so they can forecast and predict, etc. It's almost like a smart meter for waste. And having all of that information must really allow construction companies and other asset owners and developers to really start to actually get much more on top of the amount of waste that they are generating, but also then how that waste being generated then actually converts into some sort of value. For example, when that waste is then recycled into or recovered. Is that sort of like smart meter approach? Is that sort of aligned?
Yeah, sure is. We create Arkanthas to conciliate economic performance, environmental impact, and regulatory compliance by measuring. And these measures include a smart meter for different professional contexts, because today in the professional sectors, there is nothing that we have to measure waste. And this nothing is given all the results that we have today related with waste management. So we believe and we know that the measurement is the key for optimization and transformation. So we are providing edge technology to help the entire value chain to transform waste management by providing a solution with meter at source, artificial intelligence, and tools that help to take better decisions related with collection, characterization, by measuring in real time different processes, and help to automate other processes and extract different recommendations, key performance indicators to optimize the steps in the value chain.
How does that work?
So essentially, it's a sensor that we install in different contexts, like, for example, a construction site, an industrial site, a collection point, or a sorting center. So these sensors are actually taking pictures of waste is put into a container. And these images are analyzed by our artificial intelligence model to extract measurements like field level, quality of the materials, amounts, the proportion of different type of waste inside of the container. So this information is transformed into a software which give key performance indicators, recommendations, and alerts that, for example, help to better planning the pickups of the containers, that will give some insights about what is not good in the containers. So we detect the sorting problem and we alert directly in real time on the field what is not good. And that help also to quantify the amount of waste that is possible to recover in the next step of the value chain.
That's
So
amazing.
there are real-time action on the field, but also an anticipation in the next step of the value chain.
I'm fascinated at how you're able to automatically detect the materials. I'm sure if I go to a construction site today and I look into a big waste skip, I'm sure it's a bit of a mess in there and a bit of a combination of everything. I'm amazed that you're actually able to detect the different materials within that and then convert that into some sort of insight.
Yeah, that's right. That is the powerful of the technology and the artificial intelligence, which has been training with these different things that we have been observing in the field for many years. So these artificial intelligence models understand, in the base of different data that have been analyzed, the different types of waste and quantify. After that is a work that our research and development teams have been doing and continue to do, to get more information that after we transform into key performance indicator. And that is really important, because one of the main points is that we have a container, but we don't really know if it's well sorted or not, how much time I will spend to sort this container. So if I know at the beginning that we have good materials, for example, sorted or cardboard is well sorted, we will avoid to send this container to landfill, and this container will go directly to the recycling center because we know that it's well sorted. We have 100% of the materials that is there, and we can recover. So we are avoiding a bad impact for the environment, and the other part, we are decreasing also the cost for the treatment of this kind of waste.
Because if companies have much more intelligence around what is in the skip, they are then able to make more informed decisions. For example, avoid sending it to landfill because they can then instead give a list of everything that is in there to the waste recycling company. Is that correct?
Yeah, is that correct? So an activity which is directly actionable on the field because you can correct problems directly
Yeah.
when we alert for something which is wrong. But when you know that the container is really sorted, the waste management company knows that they can recover all. And instead of sending them to a not good exit, they can say, okay, we will send it to a recovery option because we know that we have enough materials to do that.
That's amazing. So ultimately, I guess we get to a point then where a construction company's costs could go down and the carbon footprint from that development would also then go down. Does it create more of a burden on the on site team for the construction company? Does it increase the workload actually on site? Would companies that maybe don't have that much resource be able to do this, or does this AI solution completely eliminate the need for that?
Yeah, that's the point to help operational staff, construction companies to avoid spending time and resources in this activity by providing an assistant. We can see it like that, an
Hmm.
assistant to collection and sorting. So the first point is related with collection because we are automating scheduling and pickups of the container so they don't have to spend time in this part because we are able to guarantee that the container will be transported at the good capacity always because we are monitoring filling level in real time. So we are avoiding overflows or containers half empty because we are not anticipating really well.
And
They will
how?
happen a lot of times. So we are
Wow.
talking
Okay.
about 8 over 10 times of the time that containers go with a not good capacity. That means that it's overflow or is half empty. So it's 80% of time that we
Wow.
observe
Wow.
this kind of situation.
Wow.
And
Yeah, that's a lot.
yes, the driving analysis identifies sorting errors and provides feedbacks for correction, improving the accuracy of waste sorting and source, but also we are providing efficient training tools for the construction sites, for example. So now the environmental teams can use this information to train people on field with data driving, easier to see what is really happening. So you say, yeah, you need to sort really well, but what we need to sort really well. Okay, so now we have the information, so we can train with a new tool which is helping to change mentalities and ways to do the things.
Yeah, because it's that sort of behavior change piece that is often the more tricky part to new technological improvements. How is this typically received by on site teams? When you put this capability in front of them, how do people typically respond to it?
Yeah, we are talking about a transformation, changing the way you are doing things right now. It's not easy. The change is not easy. It's like a normal part of the human to avoid change. For us, one important thing is to support and help people to this change. We are talking about a digital solution, but we are talking about humans. And this part is really important. Help them to use the technology to smoothly change things, not like 100% right now is automate, so you don't have to do anything. We are supporting them. We are here to help to understand the things. We are advising about the things that they need to change. There is a huge part of supporting that is important. When we are seeing that they start to use the solution, it's incredible, but the change is really important. What we are observing is when we are supporting them in the really good way, the transformation is incredible. They pass from an activity where they are sorting really bad, but when they observe that the solution is there to help them, they start to do the things in a good way. And to give some examples from clients, currently we have observed an increase in the recycling rate at source by 20%. So we start with really bad sorting and an improvement in a couple of months of 20% more. So the people are engaged. So they start to understand that it's important to do things in a really good way, because the impact is environmental, but also in terms of economics. So it's win.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things about the work that you do is that very quantifiable by design, and it's very easy to track economic benefits to a company from using your technology. So it's a great position to be in, particularly when your capabilities are something so important to the evolution of construction. So I'm so glad to see it.
Yeah, sure. That's the point of measuring at source, that we can compare initial state with a new state of transformation. So we really see the difference before Arkanthas and after Arkanthas. In terms of transportation, we are decreasing by 30% the number of transport performed per year related with waste. We are really happy also because we are tracking this part really precisely. We were able to save 1,000 tons of materials from landfills
Wow.
during the
Wow.
last year. So
What a
that is
win.
incredible.
Yeah.
It's a win for all people. These materials are now introduced in the value chain. We are proud of that because our clients are engaged, our clients are transforming things, and we are able to help them.
And so many sectors I could think of need this because there is a hell of a lot of material that could be used in future developments just going to landfill. Viviana, thank you so much for your time. This has been absolutely fascinating, and I'm so excited to learn about this and see more of it in the future.
Thank you so much.